Welcome, everybody, to Buckeye Friday, the best damn pod in the land here. Like and subscribe. Hit the like button. Punch the subscribe button. Smash it. Do the things that you do. Hulk smash, whatever. But welcome. It's Friday. We're both in a pretty good mood, so get ready for some fun. Thanks for joining us today, Dan. What's going on, man? What's new in your world?
One day closer to kick off. So
I thought you meant retirement.
No, well, yeah, I don't know if I'm the retiring type, brother.
Yeah.
I don't know. The Matt Rife concert that I referred to on Tuesday has actually been canceled. So
Bummer.
Friday night is suddenly free. Apparently, he's exhausted from telling jokes. I asked Emily, I'm like, how do you get exhausted from telling jokes? And she goes, he's not exhausted from telling jokes. He's exhausted from the partying that's going on along the way. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Bo to be 30 again, I guess, right?
I guess, yeah. But no, man, we're looking forward to a good weekend. What about you? What do you got on tap?
So car show tomorrow. So I know that if you listen to us at all, I have a 1964 Chevy Impala, so we do a lot of car shows. And what the heck are we doing tonight? We're doing something tonight. Oh, my niece has her last softball game, so we're gonna go catch that.
Nice.
And yeah, pretty low key as far as things go, which is nice. I feel like we've been running a race because of my son's baseball schedule. So,
I'll see your 64 Chevy Impala and raise you 72 shoulders, hips, and knees.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah.
That's what I'm
head,
carrying.
shoulders, knees, and toes. Is that what it is? Yeah. All right. So I wanted to officially kick off our show and just welcome Bo Jackson, who I think both you and I agree was our top running back in this class from Ohio. Great to keep an Ohio kid home. Happy about it. Love it. He's a good kid. So welcome to the Scarlet and Gray, Bo. I don't know what else to say about it, Dan. You know, we talked about it on Tuesday. A lot of positivity coming off of last weekend's official visits, and then we get Bo. So feeling good still.
Well, you know, I feel great about it. It's just, but it's a weird. It's a perfect example of how crazy the recruiting world is, right? And we talked about this last week. These kids are going to come off these OVs, and that fan base and all the recruiting analysts are going to hear positive things and think, "Oh, he's going there." And you know, they did that with him with Georgia. Like he was going to Georgia. If you listen to you know all the experts after his OV there, and here we are a week later, and you know he's committed to us. And from what I understand, he's canceled his Alabama visit. So he's
that's correct. He did.
Yeah. So yeah, no, it's exciting, man. I think he's dynamic. I think he's great. You know, obviously you'd love the name.
Yeah.
Crazy part, his name is Lamar Bo Jackson.
Yep.
Go out on a limb and say his parents are football fans.
Yeah, thought he'd be good at football. Yeah. So yeah, actually our so my random segue, my wife got a puppy 5 or 6 weeks ago, and his name is Bo. Nice. After Bo Jackson, because we have baseball named dogs. So we have Louie for Louisville Slugger. We have Wrigley for Wrigley Field, because that's when I was at Wrigley Field when we first started dating for a missions trip, and then and now Bo for Bo Jackson because our kids liked it. But so Steve Wiltfong then, like to cascade the Bo Jackson thing and running back, said he believes that the Buckeyes will get both Jordan Davison and Isaiah West, which unfortunately for me, initially, I was hoping that maybe Kentrell Reinhardt would end up in as a preferred walk-on, but then listening to his interview, and you know, I talked about this before, and Chuck, we talked about this, like, doesn't look that way. He's an Ohio kid, Columbus kid, probably loves and grown up following the Buckeyes. He seems a little sad by it. So never say never, but looking like Isaiah West and Jordan Davison. Are you feeling good with that?
Feel great with that. Yeah, fantastic. I mean, I'm, you know, 2 months ago we would have said Davison was the pick of the litter there, but honestly, I like Bo and Isaiah's game better than I like Davison's.
Whoa. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's not.
He could be number 3 and still open up the pipeline to modern day.
It's not just that. It is just that. But I've been on Jordan Davison for 2 years on this podcast, so let's be nice. All right, so we got
he was the number one rated running back.
Till he liked Ohio State, and then they dropped him because they're a bunch of asses. But anyways, we know. Hey, if you ever want to, like, guys, if you guys ever want to talk to somebody that knows about the political games that go on behind the scenes with these All-Star games and stuff, come on Twitter or on our YouTube pod and talk with Dan, because it's all political. The way these stars work, the way the All-Star games work, whether who commits where, to what games, and the 7-on-7s, it's all a bunch of BS. They just make it up as they go.
If you want to know about the political nature of rankings, subjective rankings,
yep,
all you need to do is look at that post that circulated this past week that had the top 3 recruiters in college football right now.
Yeah.
And number 1 was the receivers coach at Miami, and nowhere on the list was Brian Hartline.
Yeah.
And I took an opportunity to jab that, look, Miami's spending NIL money on coaches now to rank, recruiting, coaches for their recruiting prowess. Listen, and somebody's like, you Ohio State fans want to make everything about you. I'm like, leaving Brian Hartline off of that made it about Ohio State.
Yeah.
We didn't do it. You did it, or they did it.
Yeah.
So it's just, rankings. I take all the rankings with a grain of salt. I'm more about looking at film and level of competition and things like that.
I get it. I do. So I put this on my phone because I had already updated our notes and I didn't want to screw our notes up. So official visits this weekend. Desai Jones, he's already committed. Nate Roberts committed. Eli Lee committed. Then we get into Quincy Porter, the guy that, God, we have to have. Fahim Delane, Jackson Lloyd, Damian Shanklin. He got crystal balled to LSU, but he's still coming on the official visit. And as you know, he's somebody I really want really bad in this class. But after talking to Berm, it sounds like it's either him or Marion Dye. So, okay. I'll take both, but give me one of them. Trajan Oden.
I think we're going to need more than that, brother, on the D line. Like, I'm not so sure the guys we have right now are even locked in anymore. I mean, there's starting to be rumblings that who's the kid from IMG that was at Woodward Academy before in Georgia? It's not Lattimore.
No.
That he might be wavering a little bit.
Okay. Javon McFadden, Coney Haddad, and then Andrew Stargell, 3-star offensive lineman, who seems to be climbing as well. So pretty big official visit weekend, but it's not quite as what I would consider star-studded as last weekend. But to get Fahim Delane on campus, D Sanchez, are you guys gonna come in this weekend and talk to Fahim? I don't know. Hello, Bueller. I don't know, but I like it. I like that Cody Haddad's coming in too. So that's great. So, another big weekend, and it seems like to me as we go further into June, like they really are basically trying to get all their OVs out of the way in June. And then I was listening to, and I don't know if you heard this, but Ryan Day was talking. He said that he just felt like during this season, if those guys come in on OVs, he doesn't feel like he gets to spend the kind of time with them that's deserved.
Right.
So it's nice when they come in, especially for like a night game or something, a primetime game. But I don't know this new strategy. Let's see how it works. What do you think?
No, I agree with it 100%. And I mean, furthermore, during the season, in the past, not only would it be during a game weekend, but it would usually be a much larger group, right? So, yeah, no, I think this is a brilliant strategy. They seem to have it locked in as to what they want to do and who they've got coming when, and as much as they can. Obviously, we're competing against other schools for OVs and kids' summer schedules and things like that, but they seem to be very strategic with the way they're doing this. It seems like they've got 3 or 4 priorities every weekend.
Yeah.
That, they're able to give a lot of extra attention to while not neglecting everybody else, if that makes sense.
True. And I think the defensive lineman you asked me about from IMG is London Merritt.
That's it.
I wanted to say Zahir Mathis, but I knew he was from like the Philly area, so that didn't make any sense.
Last name to say Lattimore.
Yeah, London Merritt. Florida kid.
Florida defensive Georgia lineman. Kid. I mean, to be clear, he's from Woodward Academy and then went down to IMG to play. So he's an Atlanta kid.
But Ohio State, I thought, did I read right? And correct me if I'm wrong. They want to take 6 defensive linemen in this class, 5 or 6.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying I don't know why we'd have to choose between Shanklin and Dye unless it's a positional thing.
It was implied that it was probably because of the kids and not because of Ohio State.
Gotcha.
So if I'm reading between the lines, but because they already have Zahir Mathis on the edge too, so
yeah.
Okay.
Well, the camps are also going on this week.
Yeah.
And yesterday, man, we had Big Thanos in the house.
Yeah, he looks good.
All indications is that he is going to reclassify at this point. So we're looking at a 5-month battle as opposed to a 18-month battle, as I heard somebody else compare it. I've been hearing a lot that this was his second visit, but I heard somebody, I think Berm mentioned on one of the things that it was his third time being on campus in the last 3 months. So, you don't have a kid from LSU do that unless he's genuinely interested. And
right.
I like our chances. I really do. I mean, Larry Johnson he's a legend.
He is legend, Larry. So I don't want to poo-poo this too much. I don't. But I am a huge follower and supporter of Mark Porter for Scouting Ohio. And he did a segment on Bucknuts yesterday or the day before. And I don't know if he caught it, but he basically said that it didn't make sense to him to reclassify because he didn't believe he was ready to start as a true freshman. And that he's like a puppy that hasn't grown into his paws yet. Yeah, and that like things are just kind of flopping around. And then if you watch some of the practice with LJ, he consistently reminded him to not try to muscle everything. Like if you listen, And so great, reclassify, but with the expectation that you won't play next year.
Yeah. Here's my take on it, Chad, is okay. So this kid's 6'6". They say he's 6'6", 270. I don't know if that's what he measured in a camp or not. His coach referred to him as 6'6", 290.
Yeah.
But he's obviously physically advanced.
Gifted. Yeah.
So if you're him, it's like, okay, am I going to get developed better and quicker by staying in high school for 2 more years?
Sure, come in winter,
and getting on campus sooner. Like, he's so
yeah.
I get it, and that's why every coach in the country will take him if he reclassifies.
For sure. Oh yeah, I'm not taking him. I have so much respect for Mark Porter and what he does and his breakdown of film, and anytime he has anything coming up that like he's going to be somewhere, I make sure to share it with like local coaches and stuff, just because like he found Tavian St. Clair, I mean, Bucknuts Bill Kerlick and Mark Porter have been on Tavian St. Clair for a while. And then all of a sudden now he's blowing up, of course, but anyways, I'll get off that soapbox, but a big weekend
let's think about that really quick though. I'm sorry to keep cutting you off today. I'm being an ass. My bad.
No, you're good, man.
But just let's think about him and Jason Moore, both at 6'5", 6'6", 300 poundish.
Yeah, that's nice. I like it.
I mean, come on. That's what we've been waiting for
forever.
Ever.
Yeah. Forever. Okay. All right, cool. I like it. So this isn't in our notes, but I grabbed this because I wanted to share it with you. So for the 2025 Big Ten College Football Hall of Fame ballot, James Laurinaitis is on it. There's some...
He's a three-time consensus All-American. If he's on the first ballot, I'm actually going to be surprised. There's a lot of people thinking that guys like, they kind of have to wait their turn for that. But if you look at what the guys won and what the criteria are.
Yeah. I mean, there's some. I just want you to listen to these names though, and it takes me back a little bit. Kevin Hardy and Simeon Rice,
Wow.
Antoine Randall L, Dallas Clark, Kajina Carter, Monte Ball, Taylor Stubblefield from Purdue, who gave us fits. There's a couple other ones I don't really know who they are. Vaughn Dunbar, Greg Esslinger, and Flows Out Adams from Michigan State. But there's some primetime names on there. I mean, Simeon Rice was a bad dude.
Yeah, he played for the Cardinals when I lived out in Phoenix.
Yeah,
and he was a lot of fun to watch. If I'm not mistaken, I think no, not Kevin. Kevin Hardy didn't make it out there, but
he played for the Rams, didn't he? Kevin Hardy.
Two of the greatest coaches of all time nominated as well, both from Ohio State, Urban Meyer and Nick Saban.
Yep. They'll go in together. That would be fantastic. I'd love that.
Yeah. So Nick is he's one of the best coaches ever to come through Ohio State.
Oh, for sure. All right, so I promised we'd do this, and I really just did this just to like be that guy. But so 11 Warriors, love them or hate them, came out with their 2024 projected depth chart, and at quarterback and running back, I just wanted to bring these two up: Will Howard, then Devin Brown, then Julian Sayin, and then they have Trey Quinshon, and then James Peoples. So, a lot of talk about the quarterbacks. I think number 3 makes sense. The other two could probably flip flop. But the other thing that caught my eye is they put Trey in front of Quinshon, which, okay, I get it. That's fine. I don't think they care who starts, who's number 1, but they're both number 1. They should have just done 1 and 1 and James Peoples.
Yeah, I mean, Trey's in year 4, Q's in year 3.
Fair.
Yeah. And if Trey's healthy, which by the way, I don't know if you've noticed, but and this happens every time this time of the year, but it seems to be a little bit different this year. And I heard Mick say something about this, that what they were doing wasn't working, so they took a different approach. Our skill guys are looking a lot leaner. Not skinny by any means, but if you look at Emeka and you look at Trey, those guys have leaned out a lot year over year. And there was some criticism that guys like Emeka and were getting too big in the program and physically, and that they needed to figure something out and get with the times. So these guys, I mean, some of the makeovers that are happening are unbelievable.
Well, the other thing that popped off at me under the wide receivers, and you can see it in our notes, is they have Mylan Graham behind Carnell Tate. Mylan Graham just got on campus, so there's just some things, Mylan
Graham is a freak, bro.
No, I know he is, but I'm just saying from a playbook, and okay, I'll just leave it there.
Yeah, no, I got you. I mean, listen, Jeremiah Smith didn't know the playbook. Prior to April.
Run there.
Now, I'm not comparing him to Jeremiah Smith, but Mylan Graham is a 5-star receiver that committed to us very early on. Yeah. And if he hadn't, I think we would have heard a lot more about him.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I noticed, what was it, yesterday on the podcast daily, they brought up, you mentioned the physical nature of the wide receivers. Jaden Ballard's changed physically too. I guess they said he looks bigger in the chest and has put on some weight. So, but I only bring that up because if you look at the list, he is backing up Jeremiah Smith, and then behind him is Kojo Antwi. So,
yeah, I mean, the biggest takeaway in that is they've got Emeka in the slot.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, that's because Jeremiah, but I mean, Emeka was not, going into spring practice, Emeka was penciled in at the X.
Yeah. So there's 2 other things I wanted to hit on the offense, and that was really it. The defense mostly made sense to me. So the first is they have Will Kazmarek as the 3rd tight end behind Thurman and G. Scott.
I don't see that.
And then the backup left guard is Austin Sareveld.
Yeah, I think that matches what we've heard coming out of
Yeah,
spring.
I agree with. I was excited for Austin. That's the only reason I pull that out is I was like, hey, yeah.
Well, I'm a little surprised that you didn't mention that they've got Tegra penciled in at right guard starting.
So if Hinsman can do it, great. But Tegra is such a big body, and I want to caution the way that I say this. We are going to run the ball a lot more this year, and we're not going to throw the ball as much as people are accustomed to. And if you've got road graders up front, let's just be honest. Josh Fryer is a much better run blocker than he is a pass blocker on the right side, period. I mean, when he was the sixth offensive lineman, and some of the best runs that we had, even up in Northwestern 2 years ago, Fryer had come in at right tackle, and they ran the ball really, really well, even with Mayan Williams, with being hurt. So I think I'm cautiously optimistic that is why they're doing that. I mean, and he's just a big kid.
Yeah. No, I mean, I love Tegra's makeup.
Yeah.
So I hope it starts to click for him.
That nasty streak, man. And I mean, if it doesn't work, you can put. I mean, Hinsman was recruited as a guard. Like, he can play guard. Put him in at guard if it doesn't work, I guess.
Yeah. I want to touch on something that you just said. We're going to run the ball way more than we're used to and not throw nearly as much as we're accustomed to. Tell me more. Like, what does that mean?
Well, so
percentage-wise, how much do you think we're going to run the ball?
So I think we looked this up, and the lowest percentage that they've ran the ball in the last whatever years was like in the 40s. I just think that so for me, I think of like Dwayne Haskins' 50 touchdown year, or some of the games that like CJ's was a second year where he had to throw the ball like 50, 60 times a game because we had to score because our defense was terrible. Our defense is going to be good. And what I like to call this, and this was something that I've coined myself even when I used to play like EA Sports. I call it the championship drive. I've got the ball. I've got 4 minutes left in the third quarter, and I'm on my own 20-yard line. I am going to pound the ball all to hell on you. I am going to run the clock. I'm going to run the ball. I'm going to hit you with gut punches until you submit and I get my next touchdown and I go up by 2 scores. And you're not going to come back on me because of my defense. And so, I'm going to run an 8-minute drive that way. And that's what I in my dream scenario for Ohio State, I want that back. I remember those drives with J.K. Dobbins where like they would just feed that kid and they'd walk down the field with about 8 minutes left in the game and they just take the will of the other team away. And I think they need to get back to that. And that's how you beat Michigan.
You mean how Michigan beat us last year?
Exactly.
Yeah, you just described that drive that everybody lost.
It's like I call it the championship drive. That's how you win. That like if you want to go win and you want to go win in Autzen, that's how you win.
And that's where Knowles has caught a lot of stray bullets this offseason in some of the chats that I'm in. Is like that drive. Like the defense was so good so year, but when it came down to it, you couldn't get them off the field for 8 minutes.
Right.
Why not? Why could you not get a stop in 8 minutes?
The linebackers.
Yep.
I'll answer your question.
Yeah, no. So, I just want to remind people, what was it, 2019 when we rushed for like 3,500 yards?
Yep.
The run pass mix was like, it was like 48 or 49% run.
Yeah, it was.
So even when we ran for that many yards, we were still very, very balanced, favoring the pass. And Ryan's a pass first guy. And I know Chip Kelly's calling the plays and everything else like that, but let's not be naive. We've got, the most talented receiver room in the country. And we're going to throw the ball.
Yeah.
In order to be able to run the ball better. And vice versa.
Yep. I get it. So I just that was just one of those things for me. Like, so recently, I busted out the 2008 EA Sports for my PlayStation 2 and I was playing it, and I was playing, USC. They were 1, I was 2, and, they were up by 4, and I just ground and pound ground and pound the whole last 3 minutes of the game, and scored a touchdown on a slant. But regardless, that's the makeup, and I think that's, I used to love to see that when we would take the will of the other team, just gut them. It's like the Rocky gut punches, body blow. So, all right. So the other thing I wanted to bring up, and you messaged me about this like almost immediately. So Ohio State is opening up its first 4 practices in the fall. You can pay to attend, $50 a person. Something we've been noticing up north is they have their hand out kind of begging for NIL money. But on the flip side, you have Ohio State coming up with these really cool creative things, and this is one of them. And I would now, ironically, and I told you this ironically, I will be in the state of Michigan at family camp the week that they open up the practices for Ohio State. So I thought that there was some sort of irony there, like where the universe is screwing with me, man, because of all the weeks for me to be up there in the Finger Lakes and at family camp, it's that week.
I'm on the fence about doing it. If I lived there, it'd be a no-brainer.
Right.
I think it's a really cool opportunity. The one thing that's kind of holding me back from just jumping, feet first into it is how much are they really going to show during those first 4 practices? Like, are we really going to get to see the QBs battle it out, or is it going to be vanilla?
Let me call Ryan Day and see what's going on.
Because according to the ticket site, which tickets go on sale Tuesday, that the article reported they went on sale yesterday. They didn't. They go on sale this Tuesday, the 11th.
Yeah.
But it indicated that it was for the entire practice. So is it going to be more like, like the Student Appreciation Day or the other open practice day that they had, where they, kind of put on a little bit of a show, but you don't really get to see guys getting coached and pushed and challenged. And are we going to see getting Devin and Will's face and scream at them and see?
It'll be like the what the beat gets to see, and they just get to go in and watch some stretching.
Well, yeah, it's open it's for the whole thing. So I'm intrigued. I'm thinking about doing it.
Yeah, cool. I like it. I think it's a really cool idea. They did the thing with the lift session too recently, where Mick had the idea
already. I think it's coming up, right?
Yeah, it's coming up.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like, they announced that too with a lift session that Mickey Mariotti came up with. So yeah, they're doing a lot of really great things with NIL. I'm so thankful that we don't have the cheaters NIL. I don't know what's going on up there, but I feel like they have 10 cups out, man. What do you think?
What is going on up there? I don't get it. You have a 3-year run. Like, let's take away the fact that they're going to get hammered with sanctions at some point in time. It's going to happen. If you don't think it is, that's why you're our most delusional fan base. Let's separate that for a second.
Yeah.
You've got you just went on your best 3-year run in the history of your program. 3 straight Big Ten titles, 3 straight wins against your rival, and 3 straight playoff appearances, and a national championship, allegedly.
Asterisks.
What? But you've got no bump whatsoever. Like, I'm perplexed. I would be perplexed if I didn't know why it's happening. But first, like, why are they struggling with NIL? And I know that some of their fan base, like, listen, I did a Google search the other day,
and
I said what, and I Googled what Dave Portnoy NIL Michigan, because I was wanting to talk about something today, which I'll get to. But I came across one post, and it was somebody literally begging, and this was in January, I want to say, begging for people to contribute to the NIL program. And I started scrolling through it, and some of the replies were like, 2/3 of the replies were like, well, I would, if I'm going to contribute $50 a month, I'd rather go towards an academic scholarship. It's like, what? You know,
well, they're not on par with us academically now, though. It's just us and Harvard,
right?
I mean, they aren't. I mean, we are
the Harvard of the Big Ten.
Yeah, we have the proof. We had 100 PAR, and they did not. So
where is Dave Portnoy?
Mm-mm.
Where is Tom Brady? I mean, if Michigan is this esteemed academic institution, surely they have some people that have been successful business owners.
Well, Tom Brady is doing Hertz commercials. I can tell you that.
I mean, Dave Portnoy has a sports media company. Yeah. Tom Brady has a sports platform, clothing, everything else like that. Like, that's literally what NIL was created for.
Well, where
are they? I mean, why aren't they contributing?
There has to be like at least 2 players in the NFL right now, right? From Michigan, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, we got CJ coming back and donating $1 million.
Right.
A rookie. Where are they? Why aren't they contributing? Why is their fan base not stepping up? Why is their number one bookstore on campus about to go bankrupt because they didn't sell nearly as many championship T-shirts as we thought? You know why? Because people don't want to rearrange deck chairs on the Titanic. And that's why. That's why these folks aren't going all in, because they know what's coming. Stop being naive. Stop being delusional. It's a sinking ship.
Well,
and it's the only explanation for it.
I will tread really lightly here.
Don't do that.
No, I need to. The economy in the Midwest is not awesome. So I think if $50 for my family or $50 for my football program, and I will leave it at that. I'm not going to say any more.
I get it, man.
There has to be some. There. I'm assuming there's a correlation there. But yeah, I'm with you, man. Nobody's rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic at all.
I'm not, and I'm not even like, I use the $50 a month example because that's what was in the post. But can we talk about something else regarding that? Like, that was my first time ever coming across an actual thread on a Michigan chat group.
Oh,
I've seen screenshots posted on Twitter. But what is it with their fan base subscribing to and paying for subscriptions to Buckeye content? Like, I would never in a million years think about subscribing to or watching one of their podcasts. I would never in a million years think about subscribing to, let alone paying for a message board that's Michigan. Like, what is it? What is their fascination with us? But yet, we've got, Corn Boy, who stepped up the other day, that wanted to fight us in Twitter with video, replies. Like, dude, the guy, he's a freaking tool. He's talking about us being delusional. And this is a guy that's got woke dude in his profile, and pronouns. Like, dude,
can't remember
come on.
His name now.
It's like Dave Taylor or something silly like that.
I thought it was Darren. Maybe.
I don't know what it was, but all I know is that like, he got upset because we said we were the delusional when we dealt with facts, and he wants to argue, and his big counterpoint is that over the last 5 years you've been a perennial 2-loss team, or you're a perennial 2-loss team. Well, to my buddy Juck's point, if you're a perennial 2-loss team, that makes you a perennial 11-win team, which they haven't been throughout the history of their program. And he's like, oh, you went back to the turn of the century. So predictable. You went back 5 years. So predictable.
Yeah.
Like, just what a freaking tool, douchebag, piece of garbage.
Well, as soon as I saw his hat, I knew what we were in for.
As soon as I saw him doing a video reply.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, oh, God, this guy's collected money from the government. He gets to sit at home all day and do shit like this. Sorry.
Yeah, he's got 300 Twitter followers, so and probably 50% of them are porn bots. So, anyways, I mean, until he did that, I was actually considering inviting him on the show because he does have his own pod. And I was
all
like,
he does is yell. Like,
and his reply to people he doesn't know in the language that he used on social media. And now, mind you, like, I say I drop a I say ass sometimes. I do those things, but the way he spoke, I was like, dude, like you don't need to insert that word after every other word to get your point across. You sound a lot more articulate if you don't. But
he's
I'm not
just
going to grade him
the
on
guy's
his.
a clown.
Yeah,
He spends all day recording 30 to 60-second clips and posting them on YouTube.
it sounds fun. I have to pay for my house, so
but he's woke. He's a woke dude.
Yeah.
Woke dude.
Well, that's the whole problem.
Fucking clown.
Is I don't know. I just everybody he's entitled to his opinion about us, and we're entitled to his opinion about him. And I had there were some interesting posts that we had on several of our YouTubes, like we didn't have any right to say something about somewhere that we didn't live. I'm like, we can really say whatever we want to say because we own the podcast. And while we weren't saying anything about the actual space, the area itself, just the football team, but everybody's gonna take things how they want. And I always try to remember too, everybody has a bad day. We all have bad days. And don't argue with strangers on the internet.
It's so fun though.
It is, yeah. I mean, I've even poked the bear a little bit here and there lately, just because I thought it was really funny. But
yeah. I mean, to that point, the guy was like, "You have no right to say anything about Oregon because you've never lived here." It's like, what in the world are you talking about? First of all, thank you for listening. We genuinely appreciate it.
Yeah, and the comments. Please keep commenting.
We hope we bring some value to your day. But man, just like listening comprehension 101, like what did we say negative about living in those places?
It's beautiful.
It's gorgeous. I spent a summer in Oregon between my freshman and sophomore year in college, and I worked on the job site for I lived like right outside the Portland area in Beaverton, and worked on the job site for North Clackamas, either junior high or senior high. I mean, that was one of the prettiest drives ever to and from work every day. And now,
it's pretty.
We don't do politics on this show, but I mean, there's certainly a lot we can say about what's going on in your major cities. But with that being said, the Pacific Northwest is gorgeous.
It is. It's beautiful.
I've got nothing against, like, it was the delusion. Like, Oregon, you've done nothing as a football program.
Yeah.
Nothing. You've accomplished nothing. You had a nice run and you had a Heisman Trophy winner. Other than that's like a decade. That's like a good decade for us. Like that's part of a good decade for us, not a good decade if that's all that we accomplished. But like, I mean, come on, man. Like you haven't done anything yet.
Yeah.
I think you're on your way.
Yeah. Dan Lanning. I like Dan Lanning.
If Ryan Day stepped away, the first three guys I would go after are Dan Lanning, Kalen DeBoer, and Matt Rule in no particular order.
That's an interesting order.
Well, it was in no particular order.
Yeah. No, I just meant like those are that you have two names that I would not have had on my list, so that's really interesting.
Dude, Kalen DeBoer is a damn good coach.
Didn't say he wasn't. My first call would be to Kirby Smart. My second call would be to Dan Lanning.
I wouldn't wait. I mean, I guess
I'm just telling you. Like if you give me the money.
Yeah. I mean,
give me the money. My first call is to Kirby Smart. My second call is to Dan Lanning, and you better believe it. And then if I got past Dan Lanning, then I'm with you, Kalen DeBoer. But my first call would be Kirby Smart, without a shadow of a doubt. My third call might be back to Urban Meyer. You just never know what kind of mood I'm in that day. But yeah, I get you. I get where you're coming from. And so one of the things that I found most interesting, and I read an article about this the other day, is college sports and like in general, because we were talking to Andre the other day, chef, and like he lived in Kansas and now he's back in Ohio, and you live different places, and that you form this attachment to this team based on your region typically. And so like one of my good friends, his family, like his entire family is from Michigan, and then they came down here. And so he's a big Michigan fan because it just, and so it's so regional. And so that perspective, like Ohio against the world, and then you have the Florida teams. And I would be interesting if I had grown up in Florida. Like, I probably would have been a Florida State fan just because of what they did and who they were, in the 90s. And you think about, Charlie Ward and those teams. So it's just interesting because everybody's going to be like, hey, that's my team. I'm going to defend it. So that's kind of where where I was headed with that. It's just, it's very regional, and it which is interesting because kids today, because of the way news and internet travels, like, got people in Ohio that are Eagles fans, and I have friends that, like, one's a 49ers fan and one's what's a Kansas City Chiefs fan. And weird, man. I'm a Browns fan. I grew up a Browns fan. That's all I had. That's what we knew.
Yeah, Chiefs fans come out of the woodwork in the last 5 to 6 years.
Well, it's because of Travis Kelce. I'm convinced of it.
Yeah, well, what people don't realize is that song from I'm not even going there. That song from Annie, it's A Hard Knocks Life. It was really written about being a Cleveland sports fan, Cleveland Browns fan.
Well, I've never seen this before. I'm going to transition to baseball for 10 seconds. So,
go Tribe.
Yeah, go Tribe. They are on a hot streak, but so somebody posted on Twitter about Bobby Witt Jr., and he's a heck of a baseball player. His dad was a good baseball player. But they said, if you were going to start a franchise, would you start with anybody but him? And, like, he had hit a home run in the first inning or something. The Indians came back and won. But then they posted a clip of him getting a ground ball, stepping over second base, not getting the runner, and then overthrowing first base in the same game. And I was dying laughing because the person said update and then put that post. And then I commented, I was like, I didn't even know the Royals had fans. And that caused a whole train wreck. And so if you expect me to call the Cleveland baseball team by anything other than the Indians or the Tribe or the Windians, good luck. It ain't going to happen. So actually, I see,
Chad, that's not very woke.
Well, you know what? I'm not. So I did see that they are actually Fanatics and a couple of other. They're bringing back the Wahoo logo. I got hats showed up on my Facebook.
Really?
Yeah, and they have the Wahoo logo.
Well, I mean, you can't have a vintage line without it,
right?
I mean, isn't that the point of the vintage lines? Like,
yeah,
I'm sure somebody's going to protest.
Yeah. Well, honestly, actually, my son, when we went to the game, he picked out a Cleveland Buckeyes jersey, which was before the Indians, and a hat.
Yeah.
And I have a Cleveland Buckeyes hat as well. And
Very cool.
Yeah, and that was like his favorite of it. I was like, because he's like, I'm not getting this thing. What's this weird looking statue guy? For the.
What was your choice for the rename? I mean, we knew it was going to happen, so I had an opinion at the time. I for what it's worth, like, if they were starting a new team from scratch and Cleveland never had a team before, I see where Guardians would be in there, and could be a good name. I really like the old name Spiders.
That's what I actually emailed the ticket office. So I'll give you a little story. I used to be a season ticket holder for years. And then when I got married, we went down to 20 games and then had kids and we went down to 6 games. And so I emailed the ticket office. I was like, listen, if you change the name, I will not renew my tickets, period. And they wrote me back, we're like, so sorry, sir. I could probably find the email still. And I was like, and this was before they actually did it. But knowing they were going to force them into this, which is bad words, the Spiders would have been my choice. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, my final two probably would have been Spiders and Rockers.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't decide if Rockers was cheesy or not.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, it's definitely an identity of Cleveland, right? I mean, with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and all that other kind of stuff. But hey, speaking of emails and what have you, our boy Luke from the Power 5 tailgate is going to be on pretty Wednesday.
Yeah, I was gonna lead off the show on that, but we can on Tuesday, but we can do it here too.
Okay, so he's gonna be here next Friday?
Next Friday, the 14th. Yep, we got a couple pod mashups coming up, man.
But I'm gonna set the table. We'll share this when he's on the show, if he lets us. I don't see why he wouldn't. but he applied for the director of operations job at the University of Michigan.
Yes,
and his cover letter was epic. It's so good.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
I
Burn
can't
it all
wait.
down.
I hope he lets us share it.
I hope so too. If he does, I'll definitely do that. Yeah. Yeah. So a couple big pod mashups coming up. So we've got some folks coming up from the South too, from the SEC conference. I can't give you the date yet. We're still nailing it down, but they'll be on the show. Big time Alabama fan base. And then Luke from College Football Tailgate will be on next Friday, the 14th, for another pod mashup. So, and then I think Dan and I very soon are going to get into, probably in July, we'll get into our series on schedule predictions. We may wait a little bit longer till camp starts just so we can get a feel for how the teams look. But yeah, that's what we have coming down the pipe, man.
Yeah. Cool, man. Yeah, no, it's exciting. It's Dave. I can't think off the top of my head what his Twitter handle is, but no, from the Bama side.
Yep.
Is going to be joining us, and I'm excited to hear what his take is on. I heard something in a Spaces the other day, and I usually jump into a space and I'm in it for like 90 seconds and I'm out because people are just screaming at each other. But there's a guy named Jay, Alabama guy, who hosted a space the other day, and it was the best space I've been in. He moderated it. He didn't let people talk over each other. He didn't let people start yelling at each other.
Dave Osmet from the Bama Football Pod, longest running, top ranked podcast dedicated to exclusively to talking Alabama football. So Dave's coming on the show.
Yeah, but in that spaces, Jade mentioned something about that Downs kind of had 1 foot in and 1 foot out the door when Saban was still there. Mm-hmm. So that was really interesting to hear. Honestly want to hear about Seth and what he brings experience-wise and what the snap issues were, what the perception was.
Absolutely.
I'd love to know, how much they were into the recruitment for Julian.
Yeah.
So it'll be cool. And then, get their take on what they're expecting with the regime change.
Yeah. And then for Luke, he's a national guy. He talks a lot about football, college football across the board. So I was trying to get there with Chef about like what other teams or other fan bases felt about the football playoff last year and then allowing Michigan into the playoff, given that they found up to about the middle of November that they were, or October, whatever it was, advanced scouting, should they have been eligible, so we're going to get that take too, because it's something I'm very curious about. And I don't know about you, but it's something that's like just been on my mind, that if you take away those first six games, let's say they call them losses, however you want to say it, they would have never been in a college football playoff. So, how does that translate going into the future? Do other football fan bases feel that way? And Luke's in Nashville, right?
He's in Nashville and he's a Buckeye fan.
Okay.
Yeah, I got connected with him through Juck.
Okay, sweet. So we got some good stuff coming up, folks. And thank you for all the views, the likes, the subscriptions. We've been, we just keep climbing, man. So
yeah, it's a lot of
appreciate
fun.
Everybody.
We appreciate you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, I think we're good there, Dan. I don't know about you, but
we're done.
Yeah. All right. Y'all have a good weekend. Stay safe out there. Enjoy yourselves. Enjoy some sunshine. Until we see you next time on Tuesday. Stay safe. Go Bucks.